Hi there. I'm so glad you're here today. Let me ask you something. Have you ever found yourself sitting quietly, maybe with a cup of tea or coffee in hand, and suddenly felt the weight of something you've lost? Maybe it's the loss of a loved one, a friendship that faded, or even the life you once had before retirement. It's not easy, is it? Grief has this way of sneaking up on us when we least expect it, especially as we grow older. And while it's natural to feel sadness, frustration, or even anger, what's most important is how we choose to move forward without losing ourselves in the process. Today, we're going to talk about something that affects so many of us after 60, grief and loss. But more importantly, we're going to explore how to navigate these feelings in a way that allows you to keep living fully, joyfully, and authentically. Because let's be honest, life doesn't stop just because we've experienced loss. There's still so much beauty to embrace, so many memories to create, and so much of you left to share with the world. By the end of this video, you'll have some practical tools and strategies to help you cope with grief in a healthy way. We'll cover how to honor your emotions, rebuild connections, and find new purpose, all while staying true to who you are. So, if you're ready, let's dive into the first step. The first thing I want to talk about is acknowledging your feelings. This might sound simple, but trust me, it's one of the hardest parts of dealing with grief. When we experience loss, whether it's the death of someone close to us or the end of a chapter in our lives, society often tells us to stay strong or move on. But here's the truth. Suppressing your emotions doesn't make them go away. In fact, it can make them linger longer, weighing you down over time. Think about it like this. Imagine you're holding a balloon filled with water. If you try to squeeze it too tightly, the pressure builds up until eventually it bursts. That's what happens when we ignore our feelings. They don't disappear. They just come out in other ways, sometimes when we least expect it. Instead, give yourself permission to feel whatever it is you're feeling. Whether it's sadness, anger, guilt, or even relief, those emotions are valid. They're part of being human. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but how do I actually do that? Well, one of the best ways is to start by naming your emotions. For example, instead of saying, "I feel terrible," try getting specific. Are you feeling lonely, overwhelmed, resentful? Putting a name to your feelings helps take away some of their power. It's like shining a light into a dark room. You realize it's not as scary as it seemed. Another helpful tool is journaling. Now, I know some of you might roll your eyes at this suggestion, but hear me out. Writing down your thoughts doesn't have to be fancy or perfect. You don't need to write pages and pages either. Sometimes, just jotting down a few sentences each day can make a big difference. For instance, you could write, "Today, I felt sad because I missed hearing my grandchild laugh," or "I felt frustrated because I couldn't figure out how to use that new app everyone keeps talking about." The act of putting your feelings into words can help you process them more effectively. And here's the beautiful thing. Acknowledging your feelings isn't just about pain. It's also about celebrating the good moments. Did something bring you joy today? Write that down too. Maybe it was a phone call with an old friend, a walk in the park, or simply enjoying a quiet moment alone. Recognizing both the highs and the lows gives you a fuller picture of your emotional landscape, helping you stay grounded during tough times. The second point I want to touch on is leaning into support. Many people think that asking for help is a sign of weakness, but nothing could be further from the truth. Reaching out to others takes courage, and it's one of the healthiest things you can do when you're grieving. After all, no one should have to face loss alone. Let me share a quick story with you. A few years ago, I met a woman named Margaret at a community event. She told me she'd lost her husband of 50 years and spent months isolating herself because she didn't want to burden anyone with her sadness. But one day, a neighbor stopped by unexpectedly with a plate of cookies. That small gesture opened the door for Margaret to start talking about her grief. Slowly but surely, she began reconnecting with friends, joining a local book club, and even volunteering at a nearby library. She said that reaching out and letting others reach back was what ultimately helped her heal. You see, connection matters. It reminds us that we're not alone, even when it feels like we are. So, if you're struggling, don't hesitate to lean on your family, friends, or even professionals like therapists or counselors. There are also support groups specifically designed for people dealing with grief. These spaces provide a safe environment where you can share your experiences and listen to others who truly understand what you're going through. Of course, Building connections doesn't always mean talking about your loss directly. Sometimes it's about finding common ground with others through shared activities. Whether it's gardening, painting, playing cards, or taking a class, engaging in hobbies can help you form meaningful bonds while giving you a sense of purpose. Now that we've covered the importance of acknowledging your feelings and leaning into support, let's move on to another crucial aspect of navigating grief: creating rituals to honor your loss. This is such a powerful way to keep the memory of what, or who, you've lost alive, while also finding peace within yourself. Stay with me, because this next part is really special. Creating rituals to honor your loss might sound a little abstract, but it's actually one of the most personal and healing things you can do. Think about it. Rituals give structure to our emotions, a way to channel them into something meaningful. They help us say goodbye in a way that feels right for us, while also keeping the memory of what we've lost alive in a positive way. Let me explain what I mean by rituals. These don't have to be big, formal ceremonies. In fact, some of the most powerful rituals are simple, everyday actions that hold deep significance for you. For example, maybe you light a candle every evening in memory of someone you loved. Or perhaps you visit a favorite spot, a park bench, a beach, or even a cozy corner of your home, and spend a few quiet moments reflecting. Some people write letters to their loved ones, sharing updates about their lives or expressing feelings they never got the chance to say aloud. Others plant trees or flowers as a living tribute. The key is to find something that resonates with you personally, something that helps you feel connected to what you've lost without being overwhelmed by it. I remember hearing from a woman named Carol who lost her sister unexpectedly. She told me that every year on her sister's birthday, she bakes her sister's favorite cake and shares it with friends and family. It started as a small tradition just for herself, but over time, it grew into a celebration of her sister's life. Carol said it helped her shift from focusing solely on the sadness of losing her sister to cherishing the joy her sister brought into her life. That's the beauty of rituals. They allow us to transform grief into gratitude, pain into purpose. Another idea is to create a memory box or scrapbook. This is especially helpful if you're grieving the loss of a loved one. Fill it with photos, mementos, notes, or anything else that reminds you of them. Over time, you'll find that this becomes more than just a collection of items. It's a tangible reminder of the love and connection you shared. And when those waves of grief hit, because they will, and that's okay, you can open the box and let yourself be comforted by those memories. Now, let's talk about another important piece of navigating grief: finding new purpose. After a significant loss, it's common to feel like a part of you is missing. Maybe you've retired, lost a partner, or moved away from a community you were deeply involved in. Whatever the case, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, what's the point now? But here's the thing, your story isn't over yet. There's still so much you can contribute, so many ways you can make an impact, not just in the lives of others, but in your own life too. One of the best ways to rediscover purpose is to focus on what brings you joy. What did you love doing before your loss? Was it traveling, teaching, cooking, or volunteering? If those activities still spark happiness for you, lean into them. But don't be afraid to explore new interests too. Sometimes, loss opens doors we didn't even know existed. You might discover a passion for photography, woodworking, or mentoring younger generations. The possibilities are endless, and trying new things can be incredibly empowering. Take Harold, for instance. He was a retired teacher who struggled after his wife passed away. He felt adrift, unsure of how to fill his days. One day, he decided to volunteer at a local elementary school, helping kids with their reading. At first, he wasn't sure if he'd enjoy it, but soon he realized how much he loved seeing the children's faces light up when they mastered a new word or finished a book. Not only did this give him a renewed sense of purpose, but it also introduced him to a whole new community of people who appreciated his kindness and wisdom. Finding purpose doesn't always have to involve grand gestures, though. Sometimes, it's about making small, intentional changes in your daily routine. For example, you might decide to start each morning by writing down 3 things you're grateful for. Gratitude has a way of shifting your perspective, helping you see the good even in difficult times. Or you could commit to learning something new every week, whether it's a fun fact, a recipe, or a skill. Staying curious keeps your mind sharp and your spirit engaged. And speaking of staying engaged, let's not forget the importance of physical movement in processing grief. Now, I'm not talking about running marathons or hitting the gym 5 days a week, unless that's your thing. Instead, I'm referring to gentle, mindful activities that get your body moving and your energy flowing. Walking, yoga, tai chi, gardening, even dancing in your living room to your favorite song can work wonders for both your physical and emotional well-being. Why does movement matter? Well, grief often manifests physically. You might feel tense, fatigued, or restless. Moving your body helps release pent-up energy and tension, giving you a natural outlet for your emotions. Plus, it boosts endorphins, which are those feel-good chemicals in your brain that can lift your mood and reduce stress. It's amazing how a brisk walk around the block or a few stretches in the morning can help clear your mind and lighten your heart. For example, my friend Ruth swears by her daily walks. She lost her husband several years ago and found herself stuck in a rut of sadness and isolation. One day, a neighbor invited her to join a walking group. At first, Ruth hesitated. She didn't think she had the energy, but eventually, she gave it a try. To her surprise, those walks became a lifeline. Not only did they improve her physical health, but they also gave her a chance to connect with others and enjoy the beauty of nature. She told me that some of her darkest days turned brighter simply because she chose to put one foot in front of the other. As you can see, finding new purpose and incorporating movement into your life aren't just about filling time. They're about reclaiming your identity and rediscovering the vibrant, resilient person you are. Grief may change you, but it doesn't have to define you. You still have so much to offer, and the world is better because you're in it. With that in mind, let's move on to our final points, where we'll talk about embracing flexibility and practicing self-compassion. Because as much as we want to heal and move forward, it's equally important to give ourselves grace along the way. Stick with me. I promise this next part will leave you feeling hopeful and inspired. Now that we've talked about creating rituals, finding new purpose, and incorporating movement into your life, let's focus on two more essential pieces of the puzzle: embracing flexibility and practicing self-compassion. These might sound like simple ideas, but they're incredibly powerful when it comes to navigating grief in a healthy way. First, let's talk about flexibility. Grief has this tricky habit of not following a straight line. Some days, you might feel like you're making progress, like you're starting to find your footing again. Other days, it can feel like you're back at square one, overwhelmed by sadness or frustration. And guess what? That's completely normal. Healing isn't linear, and trying to force yourself into a rigid timeline or set of expectations will only add unnecessary pressure. Instead, try to embrace the ebb and flow of your emotions. Think of it like the ocean. Sometimes the waves are calm and gentle, and other times they crash with intensity. Neither state is permanent, and both are part of the natural rhythm of life. When you allow yourself to ride those waves rather than fight them, you give yourself permission to heal at your own pace. There's no right way to grieve, and there's certainly no deadline for feeling better. One practical way to cultivate flexibility is to adjust your expectations, not just of yourself, but of others too. For example, maybe you used to host big holiday gatherings, but now the thought of all that planning feels exhausting. Instead of pushing through and doing it anyway, consider scaling back or asking for help. You could even suggest something different, like meeting for coffee or taking a walk together. The point is, it's okay to change how you do things. What matters most is staying connected to the people and activities that bring meaning to your life. Another way to practice flexibility is to be open to moments of joy, even in the midst of grief. It's easy to feel guilty when you laugh or experience happiness after a loss, as if you're somehow betraying the person or thing you've lost. But here's the truth. They would want you to keep living, to find light in the darkness. So, when those moments of joy come, whether it's a funny story from a friend, a beautiful sunset, or a favorite song playing on the radio, let yourself lean into them. They don't erase your pain, but they remind you that life is still worth living. Now, let's shift gears and talk about self-compassion. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this: be kind to yourself. Grieving is hard work, and it takes an incredible amount of emotional energy. Yet so often, we're harder on ourselves during tough times than we would ever be with someone else. We criticize ourselves for not getting over it fast enough or for having a bad day. But here's the thing: You're human, and humans aren't built to bounce back instantly. Healing takes time, patience, and a whole lot of grace. Practicing self-compassion starts with changing the way you talk to yourself. Instead of saying, "I should be over this by now," try reframing it to, "I'm doing the best I can, and that's enough." Or instead of beating yourself up for crying during a movie or while looking at old photos, remind yourself that tears are a sign of love, not weakness. The more you practice speaking kindly to yourself, the easier it becomes to silence that inner critic and replace it with understanding and encouragement. Self-care plays a big role in self-compassion too, though it doesn't have to look like bubble baths and scented candles, unless that's your thing. Sometimes, self-care is as simple as setting boundaries, saying no to commitments that drain you, or taking a break from social media if it's bringing you down. Other times, it's about treating yourself with the same care you'd extend to a dear friend. Maybe that means cooking your favorite meal, watching a comforting movie, or spending an afternoon reading in your favorite chair. And here's a little secret: self-compassion isn't selfish. In fact, it's quite the opposite. When you take care of yourself, you're better equipped to show up for others. You'll have more energy, patience, and empathy to share with the people around you. Plus, modeling self-compassion sets a positive example for your family and friends. It shows them that it's okay to prioritize their well-being too. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. Grief may be a part of your journey, but it doesn't have to overshadow the rest of your life. By acknowledging your feelings, leaning into support, creating meaningful rituals, finding new purpose, staying active, embracing flexibility, and practicing self-compassion, you can navigate loss without losing yourself. Remember, healing isn't about forgetting. It's about learning how to carry your memories forward in a way that honors both the past and the present. If anything we've discussed today resonates with you, I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment below and share your thoughts or experiences. I read every single one, and I know others will benefit from hearing your story too. And if you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're building a community here, a place where we can support each other and grow together. Most importantly, never forget that you are strong, resilient, and deeply loved. Life after 60 is full of possibilities, and you have so much to offer the world. Here's to living your best life at any age, and to honoring your journey, one step at a time. Thank you for being here today, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.